Well, it's May 21st, the beginning of the May 24th weekend when I always do my planting, so I think I'm going to put my squash seedlings in the garden today. I planted a packet that I got from the Heritage Seed group on Yahoo. It was called Fun with Winter Squash, so I really don't have any idea what a lot of these plants are other than they're growing very well and quickly outgrowing their cells. I added to that some Blue Hubbard and some buttercup squash that I grew last year. I had a few seeds left over, so I know that they're in there. Well, if you watched yesterday's video, you know I was having problems with slugs or something eating the plants that were under my floating row cover. I put down quite a bit of slug bait last night, and there doesn't seem to be any more problems. I also don't see any dead slugs, so I really don't know what's happening. But anyway, no more damage last night. This is a pot of milkweed. I've tried to germinate milkweed seeds many times over the years. I like the plant. It's a wildflower, but it has a lovely head of blossoms followed by very interesting seed pods. I've never been able to get them to germinate. I bought seeds last year from Richter's in Ontario, and their seed packet said that they require light and they require the winter in order to germinate. So what you do is you scatter them on the soil, top of the soil. You don't bury them, you just sort of pick your hand and press them down on the soil so that they won't blow away. And then just dig the pot into the garden for the winter. And sure enough, I've got a lot of germination. They get a little bit bigger. I'm going to put them into individual pots and grow them on a bit before I transplant them where I'd like to have them in the garden. Well, the first task this morning is turning the soil over and weeding this large raised bed. It's 7 by 13 feet, too large for square foot gardening, so I'm planning to plant it full of squash and pumpkins and just let it go. The large leaves on the squash and pumpkin will soon shade out all the weeds, and hopefully I'll have a good crop come fall. But major task this morning is to begin by digging it all over and see if I get the grass and weeds out of it. The large plants in there are wild verbascum, or mullen, I guess is a more common name. I don't think these plants were on Campobello at all until a friend of mine, whose father was Dutch and lived in Fredericton, New Brunswick, brought the seed heads here one fall and scattered them around her house, and they started growing there. So next year I got 1 or 2 of the seed heads and scattered them around my property, and they grow here everywhere now. Yellow blossoms on an 8, 9, 10 foot tall spike, and I see them in the wild in various places on Campobello, but I think I know where they came from originally. Through the miracle of very primitive time-lapse photography, a lot of work can be made to look pretty easy. Well, there's that little job done. Now to transplant the winter squash and pumpkins, and I'm also going to put 1 row of zucchini in. I have to have some zucchini. I guess I've mentioned before I don't really know what most of my squash varieties are. It's from a packet of heirloom seeds that I got through the Yahoo heirloom gardening website, and it was just marked Fun with Winter Squash. So how many different varieties I've got, I don't know. I think I planted something like 37 seeds, and not all ready to go in today. But for each spot where I plant, I'm putting in a good amount of seafood compost, mixing that in, planting the squash plant, and then watering it in good, and a good sprinkle of the slug bait, because the slugs love the tender squash and cucumber seedlings. Well, there's the squash all planted. There are 4 zucchini plants, 3 pumpkin plants, and 25 mystery winter squash plants. I'll have to wait and see what they produce to find out what they actually are. I have a number left over, some that are too small to plant, and some that are just coming through the soil. So should I happen to lose some of these to cutworms or slugs or something, I have some to replace them with. When I was digging the bed over this morning, I dug up one cutworm, so usually where there's one, there's more. I just didn't see the other ones.